Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello, you've reached the Badass Counseling Show. This is a live taping of the Badass Counseling Podcast. I am the host of this show, Sven Erlandson. I am joined in studio by my fine team, Rob the Rocket and KC over in the booth. Whether you are tuning in from Johannesburg, South Africa, or Bath, England, Sweden, Manitoba, Friendship, New York, or Kentucky, it's great to have you here. Rob, what say ye today?
I'm feeling good, despite getting over a slight cold. You know, it happens.
Yeah?
It happens, but I'm feeling good. You often talk about aliveness, which is not a word that I was familiar with. But I got to tell you, I'm feeling aliveness. I'm feeling light, and I got a lovely girlfriend now, and so all's right with the world.
It's beautiful. And folks, that is really the summary statement in one word, that all of my work with you, whether it's you folks who listen to the show, those of you who are reading my books or taking my video courses, or those of you who have joined Community Plus, my extraordinarily expensive growth support and growth group on the website, or in the free group, the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, all of it is geared toward one thing. I'm trying to get all of you to a state of aliveness. That we've taken all the rocks out of that burlap sack on your back, all the shit that's been weighing you down your whole life, the pain, the fears, the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself, to get you to a state finally of aliveness, because I believe that is what we all crave. So let's dive in, folks. Here we go. Come on now, fuzz nuts. Let's go. First question of the day is from Molly. And Molly asked the question, this is over on TikTok. Molly asked the question, okay, so do you offer any help for poor people? And my response is, yeah, Molly, love you. What the hell do you think we're doing right here? Not trying to be a dick, but this is free. I do this. We do this. We have 3 people. None of us is being paid for this right now. And we are all taking time out every week, or almost every week. We're creating shows. We put out 4 shows. Every week we put out 2 shows, one where we're answering questions and another where we're counseling people. You can come on the show and be counseled for free. Just write into our producers, production@badasscounseling.com. Production@badasscounseling.com. And our producers go through that and they pick out people to come on the show. I get people saying all the time, I thought you'd never pick me. They got picked. They just decided who's going to come on the show. We have all sorts of people. You can come on and get free counseling. You can listen to that. My high school wrestling coach used to say, we learn by watching, we learn by listening. Listen to those shows. Use those as opportunities for your journaling because it'll inspire new things, and you'll hear how someone else is dealing it. Here is something else, and that'll inspire something, or it will comfort you, or you'll realize, oh, wow, that feels good. I'm not the only one going through it. Plus, we have all these opportunities here to have your questions answered. And on top of it, For instance, I went and ministered to the homeless people on the street for 2.5 years, gave away all of my life possessions, not only worked with the homeless of Oakland, California, but lived on the street, slept on concrete every night for 2.5 years. So a huge part of my work is charging very high prices for people who can afford it so that I can spend as much time as possible with people who can't afford it. So in the area, in my locality, I work with homeless. I work with runaway teens. We've taken some into our home. I work with military veterans and so forth in my local area. So yes, if you are poor and want to come on the show, come on the show. Write in production@badasscounseling.com. Next question is from Chase Havoc. And Chase is writing in from Reno, Nevada. And Chase asks a very simple question. It's actually posed as a statement, but I really like this. And Chase says, journaling, sir. I don't understand how to do it. I just finished the first chapter of your book. I don't understand journaling. Okay, very simple. In my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, or in my follow-up book, Badass Wisdom, which is sort of a 366-day meditational or inspirational type book, there are questions. All you got to do is answer the questions, all right? So, if you're journaling where you're not using a book that offers prompts, where you're just journaling, start with this. Start with a question such as, what am I thinking or feeling right now? And it can be either one. Well, I'm thinking that I got to pick up my dry cleaning. My truck, the transmission on my truck is fucked, and I really need to get that worked out. And gosh, that's going to set me back about $2,000. But I got to hold up because I got to save up money. Write it out. Okay. But the real question you want to get to is, what am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? And journal out what you're feeling, right? And as you're journaling it out, a new feeling is going to come up. Write that out, because the purpose, we're trying to get everything off of you. We're trying to offload everything, offload your thoughts, offload your feelings. It's not just feelings and it's not just thoughts, but all of that is what causes you to feel overwhelmed. All of that is what's sort of packed down inside of you. But the real gold is the feelings, the fears, and the BS beliefs you've been taught about yourself. And you're like, well, I don't know how the hell to get down to BS beliefs. That's what the purpose of the book is. Just trust those journaling questions, all right? Just do your best the first time around. I get people who go back and read the book a second time. Plenty who've gone back fifth, sixth, seventh time. And each time, you're going to have new insights. It's going to take you deeper. The other thing you can do, Chase, it's okay, is just challenge yourself to go a little deeper. What am I feeling now? Where might this be coming from? What am I hoping to have happen? What isn't happening? Where might this have come from? What was I feeling back then? What was I thinking back then? Play with it. You've got to go about journaling the same way you should be going about your counseling. There's got to be an element of play to it. You've got to be willing to just sort of tinker with it. Like the way I think of it is the way a little boy or a little girl plays with a bug. If they're the type of kid who likes bugs, I hated bugs. You sort of let it crawl on your finger, and then it crawls on a stick, all before you take the fucking magnifying glass and you torch it with the sun, and you start it on fire. Before that part, but where you sort of let it crawl around, all right? Play with these ideas. What am I feeling right now? Well, where's this coming from? What do I wish I were feeling? Why am I not feeling that? And one of the operative questions you can always write. So you write your question down at the top of your page. I still do this. I will write the question down at the top of my page. Why? Because I believe my brain basically functions like a computer. Give it a question and then let it play with answers. All right? And so one of the questions I always write when I'm journaling is, I always play with is, what's the fear driving the behavior? I am always, when I'm working on myself, when I'm working with a client, I'm always asked the question, what's the fear driving the behavior? Dig around for what it might be, and then go with the one that resonates. Go with it, run with it, and assume that's the one, and play with it and go with it until you come up with something that might disprove it, or you're like, no, it's actually a little more of this. And the thing that you got to remember, and this is the takeaway from this question, this is the really big takeaway. And I tell my clients this. You guys may have seen the video I did on this. I've got 1,700 free videos on Instagram and TikTok and so forth. And use those. If you're looking for free shit, use those. They're all free. And all of those are journaling prompts. But one of the biggest things I tell every single client on the very first session that we have together, and you need to use this in your approach to your own therapy, and you need to use this in your own approach to your own journaling, is change your mind as many times as possible. You should be constantly changing your mind. And you'll probably never, ever hear another therapist say that. And you want to know why I say that? Because you changing your mind is a sign that you have had greater interaction with an idea, with an insight that you just had, with a belief that you formerly held. Even if it's a belief you came to 20 minutes ago, change your mind again. Keep changing it. Why? Because it means you've thought about it more. You're feeling it more. It's like, no, it's actually more of this. No, you know what? I'm actually thinking that was right, but I just want to tweak this one piece. Great. You're getting to know yourself better. This feels more right. The only time you should never change your mind, I tell my clients, is if you're changing your mind out of fear. Because you changing your mind out of fear says, well, I had this insight, I had this belief or this truth I realized, but it scares me. I don't like it. I don't like how it feels. So I'm going to change my mind away from that. Well, you're acknowledging it's true. You just don't like the truth. Is your goal to have truth, or is your goal to be comfy? No, man, healing comes from the truth. It doesn't come from being comfy and, I want to shy away from the hard things. And I'm not calling you a wuss or anything. I'm just saying, don't be a wuss. Come on, man. You want to heal? Do the healing work. You want to win championships? You got to do the work in the off season. You got to, come on. All right. Next question. Here we go. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, I ask that you please try to keep your questions to one sentence because that's all they get on TikTok. And it's easier to just look over and decide whether or not I'm going to take it. Because Rob and I tend to let the longer ones go just because there's so many coming at us. But I'll take this one. Here we go. Carolyn Hunt says on Facebook, ex-boyfriend texts me out of the blue as he's with his new girlfriend. Oh, this guy's a peach. Listen to this one, guys. Here we go. Carolyn Hunt says, ex-boyfriend texts me out of the blue as he's with his new girlfriend that he loves me, that he was foolish. He's a typical avoidant behavior. By the way, folks, leave the psychological jargon out of your questions, okay? Just use normal words. Typical avoidant behavior. Why do avoidants break down a relationship and run to somebody else? How long will it take for her to see his behavior? I think you're asking the wrong question. How long will it take for her to see his behavior? Well, come on, let's be honest. Isn't it reasonable to assume that he is hiding his behavior from her? So it's almost like you're dogging her for not seeing his behavior. Can you really dog her for it when she probably doesn't see it? I mean, do you really think he's saying, hey, give me a minute here, Peaches. I got to go text my ex. I mean, and Carolyn, I'm not trying to be a dick, but you know damn well he's hiding it from her. So you can't really say how long before she sees it. Why do you give a shit if she sees it or not? Are you hoping she sees it so that he comes back to you? The real question you need to be asking, okay, ex-boyfriend texts me out of the blue as he's with his new girlfriend that he loves me, that he was foolish, that he's a typical avoidant behavior. Or you say he's a typical avoidant behavior. Why do avoidants break down a relationship and run to somebody else? How long will it take for her to see his behavior? I don't know the whole avoidant conversation. If I'm very honest, I'm not a psychologist. I don't care about the whole avoidant conversation. That's why I tell you guys, leave out psychological jargon, AD, CPT, GAD, all those language. Leave it out. Use normal language, all right? Why? Because everybody has a different experience that I want you to just use normal English, okay? I'm not scolding. I'm just saying, in this particular case, you're asking the wrong question. You're saying, when will she see his behavior? Why do you care? Do you want him to come back to you? Or you're wanting her to see through him so that he'll, change? No. The question you need to be asking you is, why are you still receiving texts from your ex? Why are you still thinking about his behavior and what he's doing? Why do you give a shit? See, what that says to me is you're still looped into him. What that says to me is you still have feelings for him. Otherwise, why would you give a shit? Why are you still even fucking texting with him? And if you did the let's be friends thing, somebody is still holding on. The let's be friends thing works like if you guys bump into each other 2 years later. Don't do the let's be friends thing, by the way, folks, because let's be friends means someone is still either hanging on or wants to sneak back in the door, or it means that one person wants to get away, but they don't have the balls just look the other person in the face and say, hey, we need to end it. So they're trying to do the slow walk out of the relationship rather than do the hard thing. And they're doing the slow walk because they don't want to look like the jerk. But you're not being a jerk. Just cut the other person off. Shoot the dead horse or shoot the dying horse, would you? Just end the relationship. Because what's going to happen is they're going to cling to you. They're going to follow you around like a little puppy, and you're going to have to shoot them in about, shoot the dying horse in about fucking 2 months. No, it sounds like if you're still reading that ex-boyfriend's texts and he's still proclaiming love, you still have some tie. He clearly still has some threads to you, but the mere fact that you're reading and wondering what's going on and when is he this and he saw this and he saw that, you still have ties to him. So what do you need to do? You need to write him some letters you don't send. Flush all that love that you still have for him out of your system and get on with your life. Either that or go back to him and once and for all. But you are in this push-pull inside your heart and you have not resolved it. All right, next question.
Sort of in the same vein, Sven, on YouTube. Sophie Sicily says, 18 months into a relationship, I went out of town for a week, and on my day coming home, my boyfriend met someone and had an affair. I'm going out of town again and am paralyzed with fear.
So she's in the relationship with the guy?
Yep.
Wait, read that one again.
Okay, I know. I feel the same way. 18 months into a relationship, I went out of town for a week, and on my day coming home, my boyfriend met someone and had an affair. Now I'm going out of town again and am paralyzed with fear. Right, Sven's shaking his head now, folks. You can't see that.
Okay. And so you're going out of town again and you're paralyzed with fear. The question I would ask you if you and I were just having tiddlies at the end of the day, at the bar and just talking, and I would ask you the question, nothing wrong with it, but why are you still in a relationship with someone who cheated on you? Nothing wrong with that. I'm not scolding you. Why? Furthermore, when that happened to you, what was the conversation that you had with yourself over it? What sort of healing work did you do on yourself to change you? Because you need to change. And we're seeing it now. Because that event is still vexing you today. It is causing you astronomical fear, isn't it? Right. That says you are not fully healed from that event. That something that happened in your past is causing you pain today. And I'm not saying it's bad. It's causing you pain. It's causing you fear today. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm simply saying there's still healing that needs to happen. I am willing to bet that you caught him. He weaseled his way back. You listened to all his promises because they felt so nice. You believed him. But somewhere in you don't still trust them, or you still don't fully trust him, obviously. And yet you took him back because you got talked into it. And so what that tells me is there is a weak spot inside of you. And I'm not saying you're a weak person. I'm just saying you have conditioning inside of you that causes you to hold on to someone who has hurt you. And now you're being set up to hurt again. And he may not necessarily hurt you on this particular trip, but the mere fact that he hurt you the first time says he doesn't give a shit and you let him get away with it, which increases the likelihood of him doing it again. But it isn't the point. The point is not what's happening in the relationship. The point is that you were conditioned to believe that you're so weak and so frail that you have to accept this sort of fucking treatment, and you need to drill down to what's really going on inside of you, what you were really conditioned to believe, those core beliefs way back then, because this long precedes this particular relationship. But in terms of you going out of town this time, what are you doing to purge out of you all of those fears that you have inside of you? Furthermore, are you having a conversation with him, though it may not matter because he may still cheat anyway? Hell, he may be cheating even with you not out of town. The thing you guys need to understand, and I may not have said this enough, but the thing about cheating, or the thing about someone treating you poorly, really, really poorly over time, or being in a relationship with an extreme taker, what you call a narcissist, is even if they have changed, or even if they swear I will never cheat again, or whatever it might be, the only way that you can move forward is by flushing out all of your pain and so on and so forth. And you say, well, how can I ever trust this person again? The only way that you can ever know, the only sure way to ever know if you can trust someone again, the only way is to trust them today and to see, and then to trust them again tomorrow and to see. And so you really have to approach it. Listen closely. You really have to approach it as if you are in a relationship with someone who was an addict and they are now in recovery. They could pick up that bottle any day. They may have been sober for a year. They may have been sober for 6 months. They may have been sober for 6 years. but on any given day, they still could pick up that bottle. And you have to be okay with that. If someone has cheated on you, you have to come to some sort of terms. And you do it by, first of all, flushing out all of the emotion that you have inside of you, but you also have to go back to your own childhood and heal those core wounds. Because whether or not you believe they have anything to do with it, I'm telling you as a matter of absolute fact, they are driving the equation of your own life right now and how you are interacting with this massive trauma in your life. But unless you are okay with the fact that on any given day, they could go back to it, until you can come to terms with that, you are not ready to date a recovering cheater. You are not ready to be in a long-term relationship with a recovering cheater. That's for sure. All right. Next question. Tiff 2.0 on TikTok says, how do I forgive myself for saying yes when I really meant no? Okay. How do you forgive yourself? First of all, what you should do is grab pen and paper and write a letter to yourself and yell at her. Past you stupid dummy. And why did you do that? You knew you didn't. And so on and so forth. And also tell her, you felt those, you had that, butt twinge, as a friend of mine calls it. You had that intuition. You sensed it, that it didn't feel right. Yell at her. Go back and yell at, let's just say it was you from, let's just say 2 years ago, okay? And yell at her, and you dummy, God, you're such an idiot, blah, 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 blah. Yell at her. Get it all out of your system, okay? And then after you've written that letter to yourself, then you need to understand this, Tiff 2.0 on TikTok. Then you need to understand this. Tiff, you of all people on God's green earth, you of all people should know what Tiff has been through in her life. You of all people should know how many times in your past, in your childhood, in your life, you were taught to distrust your own voice. You were taught that your inner voice, your intuition, your instincts didn't matter. Just listen to what mom says, or just listen to what dad says. Just listen to what your husband says, or your girlfriend says, or just listen to what your brother or your sister says. Just listen to everyone else. Don't listen to your own voice. Your voice doesn't matter. You stink. You don't matter. You're not important. You of all people should know what Tiff was going through. You of all people should be the one to bring compassion to her. And why don't now, after you've yelled at her, why don't you go to her and hug her and say, I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I know all you're going through. You did your best. It's not even about forgiving her. It's about giving her a hug and looking into her beautiful eyes. That you of 2 years ago or 2 months ago or 20 years ago, looking into her sweet face and saying, I got you. It's all right, kiddo. I got you. You did your best. I know everything you were going through. You were just trying to keep your head above water. I love you so much. God, your hair is beautiful. I'd forgotten how beautiful your hair is. Or, man, I would kill to have your skin again. You are such a looker. Whatever it is, go back and talk to her kindly. Because you of all people know everything she was going through, and you of all people know what she would have killed to hear those sweet words from someone who truly knew her, and you know her better than anyone. Just go back and be kind to her. Didn't she have enough people beating her up? Does she really need you beating her up? The one person who knows how hard she had it. And then the blessing is, moving forward, you know what? Okay, I'm going to trust my inner voice a little sooner this time, because I know the shit show that it'll turn into. And one of the grand blessings, folks, of going through hell is it's not quite as scary the second time. Definitely not the third time. And we learn when we don't listen to our inner voice, when we don't listen to our intuition the first time and the second time, we know the third time and the fourth time, I'm going to listen to it, because we know the flying shit show it turns into. All right, much more to come right after this.
I've been doing some real healing work in my life, and I mean hardcore. But I've been craving something new to level up. A friend of mine told me about this badass counselor. I gotta admit, I rolled my eyes. Then I watched a few of his videos, and yes, this is the guy. I went and got his audiobook, Badass Wisdom. Holy shit. Absolute ass-kicking, inspiring, deep, powerful shit, period. If you don't get this book, you're making a huge mistake. So do you got the guts to go big with your self-care? Go to badasscounseling.com, get the book Badass Wisdom now.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform, and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
Oh yeah, we're back. Here we go. I have Lorianne on Facebook saying, I'm 1 year done from a 20-year narcissist marriage. Okay, out of it for 1 year after 20 years. I'm trying to date again. Guys chat and then ghost me. How do I navigate this and find a good quality man who wants to date? You stop trying to find. Stop trying to find, Lori. All right. And I know this is going to sound cuckoo bird, but I'm just going to talk how I talk. All right. What you got to do, Lori, is you got to focus on you and flushing out all of your pain and your rage and your sadness from that relationship. There's no fucking way that in 1 year out of a marriage of 20 years that you've got all your shit out of you, unless you had been deliberately flushing out all your shit for like the last 2 or 3 or 4 years. Deliberately in your journaling and in intensive and deep therapy. You've got so much pain and fears and bullshit beliefs inside of you that have to come out of you. And I'm not just talking about from the marriage. I'm talking about whatever shit kept you in a narcissistic marriage for 20 years. Even if it really only has been narcissistic for 10, the mere fact that you allowed that shit for 10 years says you have massive core beliefs that have to be rewritten inside of you. They have to be jackhammered out of you and then new ones found inside of you that are already in there. You need to get the book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, first and foremost, okay? That's the first thing. That's going to help you get that shit out of there. The fact that you're trying to jump into a new relationship or at least dating says you're wanting anesthesia. You're wanting to feel good again. Okay, you had shit, I just want to feel good, which says to me you're just jumping from one right into the next. To some degree, it won't work. You're trying to find, you're trying to get something and grab it and hold on to it, because then that'll be my anesthesia. It'll make me feel good. That's not the answer, Lori. It won't work long term, because you are carrying your same shit, not just from the 20-year narcissistic marriage. You are carrying your same shit from the fucking belief system that set up that 20-year narcissistic marriage. You ever wonder, how are those seeds of being okay with or lasting or staying in a 20-year narcissistic relationship, how are those seeds able to last? How did they take root? It's because they found fertile ground of a belief system that had already been instilled in you. You need to go deep inside of yourself. Then, when you've done that work, and that's not something that has to take a long time if you just go really fucking deep, Lorianne. If you do that work, then you know what you do? Then how do you, quote unquote, find a good man? You can still put yourself out there and so on and so forth, but the simple test is the more you get all that crud out of you, the more all you do is just read yourself. So when you're dating someone, it's just, how does it feel? Does it feel okay? Yes, it feels okay. Or does something feel off here? And it's something that feels off, you stand up and say, that doesn't quite feel good. And then maybe they leave, or maybe they say, you know what, you're right, and I'm sorry for that. And then you move to the next step, and next step, little steps. All right? But if something doesn't feel right, then you move on. And you got to understand, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Okay, you're going to lose a lot. I had 10 years between my second marriage and then this relationship that I've been in for 12 years. 10 years. You know, I was still dating and so on and so forth, but you got to be willing to lose. I mean, that's just the baseball of dating. I mean, you got to be willing to strike out if you want to hit a home run, if you even want to get on base. All right. But no, Lori, if you're 1 year out of a 20-year relationship, you got to take some hardcore going in deep, young lady. Hardcore going in deep. Serious. Get the book. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Next question. Jessica Vella over on TikTok says, partner is accusing me of cheating. I'm not, and have given evidence to back it up. Will he ever believe me? No. All right. Next question. Well, okay. I'll give you a little more than that. A lot of times people do that when they are cheating, but it's not always the case, because what it often is as well is a lot of people have their own fears if they've been cheated on before, or they just live in fear. And I call it, and it's kind of also the hot girl syndrome. If you're a guy and you're dating a hot girl and it goes the other way, it's not just guys. All right. I dated a very neurotic and fear-filled woman, and for quite some time. And she was just always like, not always, but a lot convinced that I was cheating, and I wasn't. But because she had so much fear. Well, a guy dating a hot girl, he's forever going to be in fear that she's cheating, that she's leaving, that she's laughing with someone else, that she's going to go dancing with someone else if she's out dancing with her friends, that she's going to see a guy. He's going to just forever live in fear. And that's the blessing and curse of dating a hot girl. Sorry, guys, sorry, girls, you got to live with that shit, right? Feels good a little bit, but then it just starts suffocating you, right? Okay, so you're asking, he's accusing you, and maybe he is cheating on you, and this is his way of just keeping the focus on you, so put a little tracker on his car if you want. I mean, I know that sounds neurotic. They're easy to buy. Get the little service, you get them for $50, $25 on Amazon if you want to go down that road. Otherwise, you got to ask yourself, do you really want to live in this neurotic shit? Why are you in a relationship with someone who doesn't believe you? You know you're telling the truth. You're having to deal with his bullshit. And you're like, oh, but he's such a nice guy. When it's good, it's good. Yeah, but when it's not, it sucks. And this is what I was just talking about with Lori Ann. Lori Ann, Jessica over here on TikTok. Lori Ann's on Facebook. Jessica's on TikTok. Lori Ann, Jessica's having to deal with a guy and it doesn't feel good. And she's addressed it and she said to him, I am not cheating. Either you believe me or you don't. And the guy's saying, no, I don't believe you. But she's staying in it. Why? At some point, you have to have the courage to walk away. And this is why I always tell women, and it's true of men too, the ability to be alone is a superpower. Why? Because then you're not holding on to a relationship. No, I can't bear to be alone. And you want to know why we hold on when we're afraid to be alone or afraid? It's not that you're afraid to be alone. What you're really afraid of is what happens when you're alone. What happens is all those old voices, all those old messages. See, I suck. See, I'm unlovable. See, no one loves me. See, I couldn't even keep a cheater. Or I couldn't even keep an abuser. That's how much I suck, how much of a loser I am, how unlovable I am. I'm unworthy. See, I'm no good. The reason we hold on is because, maybe we got so little love in our childhood, and I got this person who gives me a tiny little bit of love. He's a total narcissist, and he only gives a little bit of love, or she only gives a little bit of love. But boy, it's better than anything I ever have. So we hold on, and we endure all manner of crap. It's like, no. Until you have been alone and sat in the crap and flushed and flushed and flushed and got it all out and finally found the peace that passes all understanding in that silence. Once you get there, that's a motherfucking superpower once you're in relationships, because then you don't tolerate shit like Jessica is eating right now. Jessica, dude, you are just don't. Wait, because, what you want is a relationship where the other person, you talk and you're believed. You talk and the other person trusts and you trust them. It's just like, Rob, am I off on this one?
You've never been more right, and you're right a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's very gracious. But yeah, I just hate to see somebody suffer. It's like she's being honest and she's just being tortured by somebody because of their fears. This has nothing to do with Jessica.
Yeah. Also, if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, never make a pretty woman your wife. But sometimes it can work.
Well, you've got a pretty woman for a girlfriend, and I've got a pretty woman for a girlfriend. So
there we go.
There we go.
I got a serious question here I think you might enjoy.
Go for it. We've got one from YouTube here. Here we go.
From Can Rock asks, how do I heal from the pain and shame of my miscarriage?
All right. How do I heal from the pain and the shame of my miscarriage? Ken Rock? Ken Rock.
That's right.
All right. You can rock. How do you heal from the pain and the shame of the miscarriage? First of all, I know that my telling you this may not soothe in any way, but there's no shame in having a miscarriage. There's no shame in that. Now, I know you still feel it, and that I'm not trying to steal something from you, but I am telling you, just empirically, you miscarried. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, but you want to heal from the pain and the shame of it. First thing I would do, if you're not in therapy and you want to, that would be something I would recommend. Find someone you love and trust that you can talk about who won't judge you. But absent that, pen and paper. Write a letter to the baby that you lost. Write a letter. Say, I miss you so much and I'm so sorry. Or whatever you feel sorry for. So I'm going to pretend that I'm you. Well, what might be going on in your head? I'm so sorry that I didn't, hold you till full term. I'm so sorry that I this or I that. And I'm so sorry. And I miss you. And it would have been so great. And I love you. And I hope you're doing well. And say everything you want to say. And maybe you end up writing 5 letters. All right. And flush it all out. And all of your pain and all of your sadness, because the pain and the shame are in you. And until the pain and the shame are out of you, they're still in you. You're swallowing it. You're subduing it. You're stuffing it down. And until you stop doing that, it's going to stay in you and chew you up from the inside. And so you have to get that out. Now, whether that's through spoken therapy or whether that's through journaling or writing letters, it's got to come out of you. All right? But you didn't do anything wrong. And even if, I don't know, even if whatever, at some point in life, that guilt is helpful because it alerts us to things sometimes that we've done wrong, but sometimes the guilt we feel isn't from anything we did wrong. We taped an episode of the show, counseling episode earlier in the day today, and a gentleman says he feels guilty for calling out his deceased grandmother for not treating him better. I said, you were a child. Why do you feel guilty calling her out, even though she's deceased, for not treating you better? Well, because she did her best and I just feel bad doing it. It's like, you were a child. Why don't you go back and give that child a voice and let him heal? Rather than protecting a deceased grandmother, why don't you go back and protect that 7-year-old child, that 17-year-old child? All right? Why don't you give yourself a voice, MK Rock and Ken Rock, and just flush out those feelings. Just flush them out and keep flushing them out, using letters, using journaling. Get it out of your system and know that you did your best and flush it all out. And then it's time to move forward. And the joy will come out, but you got to get all that stuff out of you. All right. Right. Bass Black asks a really interesting question here on TikTok. How do I help my girlfriend out of her depression? You don't. In the end, you can't pull anybody out of a depression that doesn't want to come out of a depression. You can't pull anyone out of anxiety that doesn't want to come out of anxiety. If there's one thing, and I have clients and listeners and followers and people in Community Plus on our website, our community group, I have all sorts of followers and clients who are psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists. And there's one thing we all know. You cannot heal someone that doesn't want to be healed. If someone shuts down, if someone blocks you in therapy, a client, and doesn't want to discuss it, every therapist has their tricks to try to get people to open up or tools. But if someone wants to stay shut down, there's nothing you can do. And so in your case, Bass, you can make recommendations. You can, offer to listen to some degree, but you are not your girlfriend's therapist. But you can offer to listen and be a sounding board. You can offer, tools like, recommending going to therapy, or maybe even help find insurance to pay for it or help pay for it. But then there is a certain point, and I'm betting you've already done some of these things. There is a certain point where if the person doesn't want it, there ain't a damn thing you can do. And that's the real come to Jesus moment, so to speak. That's where you have to realize, well, shoot, they're not doing anything and they don't want to do anything. And we so want them as their partner. It's like being in a relationship with an addict, or being in a relationship with someone who is an overworker or something. And you're saying, I want you to change. It's killing you, but it's also killing us, right? This is hurting you and hurting your relationship, isn't it? And it's hurting this person you care about. And you want them to change for their sake, for your sake, for the relationship's sake. Am I correct? Yes. But in the end, if they don't want to change, you're fucked. And so that's where you have to ask yourself, do I want to stay in a relationship with a person who is clearly in a rut and has no desire to pull themselves out of the rut? And one of the sad truths that I talk about in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, is that change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. And so this is why enabling someone or allowing them to continue a certain way doesn't help the problem. Occasionally now and then in the short term, sure, it can get over a hump or whatever, but in the end, it doesn't help the problem. And furthermore, you're just allowing yourself to go through a hell. But it's not solving it. And sadly, Bass Black, there's nothing you can do if they don't want to heal. And very often it takes losing someone or losing business or losing money. It takes a real ass kicking before someone changes. And that's what I always say about narcissists as well. Extreme takers, that people say, will a narcissist ever change? And some people say, oh, they never change. And I know that's not true, because they can change. And I've helped them change. Someone who is motivated will change if they do the work. If they are motivated, they will change. Well, then people ask, well, what will motivate a narcissist to change? Pain. Nothing in life motivates like pain. And particularly pain for an extreme taker, the pain of loss. And it may not be the loss of you. That's the sad part. But it'll be the loss of someone or something. But maybe it's the loss of image, the loss of money, the loss of their own kids, the loss of a lover, but the loss of something, or the loss of their own sense of pride, or the loss of life over the course of years, realizing how much they've lost, or the loss of any sense of respect because they realize how many people they've hurt, whatever it is. But you cannot determine what the loss is going to be that's going to cause them to change. but it will take pain. All right, one more question, and then we are going to call it. All right, I like this one. This really gets to the heart of the matter. Shirley I Jest on TikTok asked the question, how can you develop positive self-esteem when you don't know who you are? Great question. The reason you don't know who you are is because you have so many other voices and messages inside of you. Your authentic self, people, is like a computer chip that got inserted in you when you were born, or at time of conception, depending on your theology, who gives a shit. Anyway, it's a metaphor. There's a computer chip inside of you on which is written everything about you. It's not, the real you isn't out there to be found. It's inside of you. And it's always been there. The type of flowers you will like when you are 8, the type of flowers you will like when you are 28 or 58. Your favorite color when you're 19, your favorite color when you're 59. All right? If you're a guy, type of friends you'll enjoy when you're 16 versus the type of friends you'll enjoy when you're 36. Okay? Things like that. The work that stimulates you and moves you when you're 29 versus the work that moves you when you're 74. All of these things are written on that computer chip. And so if you don't know who you are, if you struggle to understand yourself, or if you are lacking motivation, which is always an indicator that you don't know yourself, you're not connected to that computer chip inside of you, all of those are because you are wired into somebody else's chip. That means you've got all these other voices inside of you. Imagine the visual image I want you to have is of a bunch of baby robins in a nest with their mouths open going, cheep, 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 waiting for mommy and daddy robin to come in and stuff a worm down their throat, right? We've all seen those videos, those movies back in the day. All right. And so, but what got stuffed down your baby robin throat when you were a child was messages, all of which, as I talk about in my book, there's a hole in my love cup. But if you don't know who you are today, then that means that back in those days, you got messages and they often weren't explicit. Okay, hear me on this. Oftentimes they were implicit, not explicit, centered around 3 main ideas. You're not wanted or wantable. You're not loved or lovable, or good enough or worthy of love. And then 3, who you really are doesn't matter. Those 3 messages are operating inside of you. And they get reinforced and reinforced and reinforced over those first 10, 15, 20 years. And then they get reinforced by other people who find their messages of these other people, a 20-year narcissist marriage or someone cheating on you, their messages of not mattering find the fertile soil of the childhood messages you got growing up. And so all of these messages are pouring into you or already embedded in you. They have become the virus. Those messages at those earliest ages became the virus infecting the operating system that is your full self, to the point where you actually believe those messages are your authentic self. You believe that if you fail, for instance, that you are your own worst critic. Some people say that to me and I say, no. You think you came out of the womb saying, I suck. No, you didn't. No, that message got implanted. That virus has been in there so long that you actually believe it is native to the operating system, and it's not. And so it requires an extraction, all right? And that's, of course, what all of my work is about. That's what the book is for, and so on and so forth. So when you say, how can you develop a positive self-esteem when you don't know who you are? Well, you have to find who you are. Well, how the hell do you do that? By getting all those other voices out of there. Well, how the hell do you do that? Well, that's what this podcast is for. That's what my 1,700 free videos are for. That's what Community Plus is for on my website, that highly expensive community that I have for people who just want to have a more powerful support community and growth group on my Badass Counseling website. And that's particularly what I wrote this book for. There's a hole in my love cup, to literally walk you through the process of getting all those other messages and voices out of you so that you can begin to hear your own authentic voice and begin to live a sense of aliveness. But there's one thing. It comes with pain. The pain of burning off all that you were, the pain of losing the people who want you to keep being what they have programmed you to be and what they expect you to be. Why do we need but we need that pain. Why? Because it forces change. Does your life suck so bad being who you're expected to be? Because until it does, you're not going to change. You're not going to want to become your authentic self. You can't have a positive self-esteem if you're not being who you really are. You're just being a fucking fake. You're just putting on a phony face. And you can't be positive. Once you begin to be your authentic self, all of a sudden you are positive. Why? I'm me. For the first time in my life, I'm being me. And it's scary and it's hard. And a lot of people don't want you to be you. But then there are those people who say, I love that you're being your new authentic self. And what a wonderful person. If you went back to being that old version of you, I wouldn't want to be around you. I love that you have the courage to become a new person. How wonderful. How beautiful. All right. Well, fine human beings. This has been a lovely, lovely lightning round live taping of the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Rob, you get the final word today, young man.
There's nothing artificial about your intelligence, Sven. Appreciate it.
I'm a big phony.
Now, I tell you what, like you say, you're inspirational, meditational, educational, muppetational. This is what we call the Badass Counseling Show.
The badass rap right there. All right, people. Well, whether you are checking in from South Africa or New South Wales, it's been great having you here with us today. On behalf of my team, KC in the booth, Rob the Rocket sitting next to me, slay those demons and have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.